I'm not sure which shisha I like more, between this one or between this one, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We'll start with the VYRO one. Now, obviously, as you can see, it is a very simple and unique design. There is no glass base, there's really no pipe that sticks out of it, and it's got these three little holes just here for when you need to blow out smoke if there's any excess or it starts to get too harsh. Now, there's only this little bit that really detaches, and I find it's quite easy to lose. I did lose this for a month or two, which is one of the biggest drawbacks of owning this shisha. Now, to pull it apart is quite simple. All you got to do is just unscrew this little bit here that holds the head. Then next you take off this little disc and just have a look at how thick it actually is. Like, I was really surprised when I first took this off for the first time. It does have a bit of weight to it. Next, all we got to do is just take this cylinder off, which acts as the vase for the shisha. And it also houses the internal components of what essentially makes up this shisha. So see, it's just a small cylinder. There's really nothing to it. It comes off in one piece. Now we're just going to look at the three internal pipes that make up essentially the whole shisha. So you got this main pipe here, that's where your hose goes in, obviously. And then once you turn it around, we've also got the pipe where you would vent the shisha if you want to get rid of any excess smoke. And then we've just got the main pipe here which holds everything together. If you want to know how much water to fill it up when you put it all together, it's just above these three holes. I find any more and it just makes it harder to smoke. Now all we got to do just to put it back together is just put the cylinder back on and try and tighten it as tight as you can. Because unlike a traditional shisha, the cylinder is actually separated from the base, which does lead to water leakage if you don't tighten it tight enough. So just keep that in mind, and you won't really know until you fill it up with water. I would also like to point out as I put this all back together is the fact that the VYRO 1 doesn't come with anything other than this, just the shisha itself. There's no hose or attachments. But that's where the NOVITEC comes in. So this comes with a mouthpiece that suits the design of the shisha itself, and it's actually not that much taller than the shisha. It's also got this little rubber bit for when you need to put the head on the shisha, and a hose, which does make this shisha cost just a little bit more than what a VYRO 1 will cost. But if you want a fully customizable shisha, I recommend the VYRO 1 just because it won't come with mouthpieces and that, and you won't really have extra. With that being said, as I take this apart, as you can see, it is essentially the same. I'm missing an O-ring here for the attachment piece, but that's alright. It's still pretty airtight and functions as it should. Now, as I take it apart, I just want to point out that I love the color of this one. I prefer this over the VYRO 1. As you can see, it does look pretty dirty. That's just from general use. Have had these shishas for quite some time. And just over that time, the smoke tends to stain the interior of the shisha. And that happens all the time, no matter what. So as long as you wash after each session, you should be fine. Now, another thing I'd like to point out with the NOVITEC and VYRO 1, because of the size, they are so great to take out and about. Now, if you look at the bottom of this one, as you can see, there's just a bit of gunk in that builds up over time in the O-ring, so just be mindful when you're cleaning it to always pull that out and just give it a quick wash. And as you can see, the only difference is really the matte black finish, which I do prefer over the shiny metal finish that the VYRO 1 has. And I find that the matte black doesn't tend to stain as much as what the metal does on a VYRO 1, so I find that to be more of a plus for the NOVITEC. As I want to point out with these shishas, because they are so compact and they're so well put together, they did leave out a major key feature of what most shishas have, and that's the fact that they left out the ashtray of the shisha. I haven't found that to be much of an issue, to be honest. I get around it by just adding a tray from a different shisha. It does look ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie, so I don't do it that often. But if you're somebody who really wants an ashtray, I don't recommend this for you. Another thing to also remember, because it is such a small compact shisha, it doesn't take that long for the smoke to reach the water, so it can become harsh real quickly if you don't manage the heat. I tend to find 2 coals will be enough for this shisha. I'd also like to point out that if you exhale too quickly into the shisha, you tend to get something like this where it turns into a water fountain. And yes, I did find this out from personal experience. Now, if you're wondering how this smokes, I find that it smokes quite beautifully. I've never really had too much of an issue with it. Like I said before, just make sure you manage the heat correctly, otherwise, it will become too harsh too quickly. Now, because they are the same shisha, I find that they both smoke the same. As you can see in the footage, the VYRO one probably smoked a bit better, but that's due to the timing of when I put the coals on. But all I'm going to say is this, it all comes down to personal preference. If you want something more customizable, I'd go with the VYRO 1 over the NOVITEC. But if you just want everything like the mouthpiece and the hose, go with the NOVITEC. They both obviously don't come with heads, so you'll have to purchase that separately. But all in all, I recommend this shisha for everyone, from the most inexperienced shisha goer to the most experienced. And as always, we just want to hear what your opinions are, what you like or disliked about these shishas, so please let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.